All right, we'll go ahead and call this Planning Commission meeting to order this Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023, the hour 7 p.m. here at City Hall. If you please rise with me and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Next item on our roll call is on our agenda is a roll call. Commissioner Hammer.
Here.
Commissioner Newell.
Here.
Commissioner Dunn.
Here.
Commissioner Robinson. Here. Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Commissioner Gochis.
Present.
Well, please excuse Commissioner Sloan and Commissioner Proctor. We're also joined by Council members Manzione and Hanson, staff members Agard, Hanson, Bolzer, and Baker. All right. Number 3 on our agenda is a public hearing and a decision on a conditional use permit request by Craig Hooper for a detached accessory structure that exceeds the 8% lot coverage restriction on 0.63 acres located at 461 South, 100 West in the R17 residential zoning district. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. This conditional use permit applies to the long, narrow property highlighted in red on the aerial photograph. You note that the property is double frontage. It has frontage on 100 West as well as 50 West and is located south of 400 South. The property is currently zoned R17 residential, as are the properties to the north, to the west, and to the south, with some property zoned MUG located to the east. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to construct a detached accessory garage that, along with some additional sheds on the property, exceeds the 8% lot coverage restriction for accessory buildings. The ordinance provides the Planning Commission with authority to vary from that 8% requirement with a conditional use permit. The staff report that was provided to you had 2 site plans. It had this site plan, and then it had a hand-drawn site plan where the applicant provided the square footage of the other detached accessory structures as well. In total, with the new proposed building, the applicant would be covering 8.8% of the lot instead of 8%. I don't know how many people driving by could notice a difference between 0.8% and 9% and 8%, but maybe there's somebody who could, but I don't think it would be very noticeable in regards to what's in the area. The aerial photograph that was provided in your packet also showed other properties in the area that had accessory structures, both of them accessing alleyways. The applicant is proposing such a thing with this application. The structure itself has very large setbacks, 20 feet on the sides, 60 feet from the right-of-way to the east. So I don't anticipate that there'll be any issues with the larger structure or with the extra 0.8%. There are some basic conditions listed in your staff report, and we're recommending approval with those basic conditions. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay, let's bring this back to the commission for questions for staff.
And I did not receive any public comment as well.
Okay.
Notices were sent out, and I didn't receive anything.
Perfect. All right, no questions for staff here. This item does require a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing right now. If you'd like to speak to this agenda item, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and write your name down for the record. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this particular item. The applicant in the audience tonight. Mr. Craig Hooper? Okay. Bring this back to the commission for further action. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move we approve the conditional use permit request by Craig Hooper to authorize construction of a detached garage resulting in 8.8% total lot coverage by detached accessory structures. Application number P23-188, based on the findings and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated March 15, 2023.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Dunn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Jensen. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn? Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0. Next up on our agenda is a public hearing and a decision on a conditional use permit request by All West Communications for public use and contractor storage yard uses on 1 acre located at 347 South, 1200 West in the IS Industrial Service Zoning District. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. So this application for a conditional use permit applies to the 1 acre parcel highlighted in red on the aerial photograph located immediately east of 1200 West at approximately 300 South. There is an existing city well facility located exactly to the east of the subject property. Property is currently zoned IS Industrial Service, as are properties to the north and to the west. And you'll note that property immediately to the south is zoned RD, Research and Development, as are properties to the east. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to authorize 2 uses to occur on the property. The first is a public use, basically authorizing the construction of a hut or a facility that will house fiber optic equipment. I'm not sure exactly what. The applicant could probably address that better than I can. And then the second conditional use permit bearing request is for a contractor storage yard. They are proposing to install fiber optic cable throughout the city, and this will be their storage yard for the equipment they're going to be using to make those installations. The property is currently vacant. A site plan was provided in your packet showing their proposals with the application. This is not a site plan review, but the site plan is pretty simple. It's basically a gravel yard with the hut, as well as a fencing plan around the west, south, and east property lines. And then they provided a couple of images of the fiber hut. There's one with the hut on the truck. The one on the truck looks a little bit bigger than this one, but doesn't really matter. So staff's recommending approval of the conditional use permit with the basic conditions listed in your staff report. This item is a public hearing, and notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. I did not receive any comments or feedback concerning this item. So with that, if the Planning Commission has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them for you.
All right, let's bring this back to the commission. Any questions for Mr. Agard?
Chairman, I'd like to
Yes,
ask a
Commissioner
question.
Coaches.
Because this is a public use, I was just kind of wondering if there's any idea of how many employees that were going to be at the facilities, and are restrooms required? You mentioned just a hut, so that sounds temporary to me. I didn't know if there's going to be a more permanent structure that would provide some services for public use.
So I can't address the number of employees. The applicant would have to address that, but they do have plans to expand this into a customer service facility in the future. At that time, the restroom facilities will be installed. I don't think the hut will have any employees, but the applicant could probably clarify that for you, in which case there would be a need for restroom facilities on the site. But.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? All right, this item does require a public hearing. I'll go ahead and have the applicants hold off until I close the public hearing, then we'll give you some time to yourselves. With that having been said, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If you wish to talk on this particular item on our agenda, go ahead and state your name for the record and also write it for our minutes taker. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and invite the applicant up to address a few questions we may have for him. Then let us know what you got going on.
Thank you.
And what's your name?
My name's Andy Thompson. I
Andy
work
Thompson.
with CRS Engineers. We've been hired by All West Communications to help them with this project. Just to start off, to address your question, there will be no employees on site. This is an equipment building. I guess kind of the best way to describe it is it's kind of a, compared to electricity, a transformer station where the big line comes in and then this does whatever it does to the fiber and breaks it up and sends it back out. So it's, the inside of it is equipment, computer and fiber optic equipment. It's not intended to house people other than just occasional maintenance. Mm-hmm. All West is, as was mentioned in the staff report, in the process of, they just started this week installing fiber. They will install fiber past the front yard of everybody's home within the city boundaries of Tooele, so that all, your entire citizenry will have access to that. And this is the station that helps it get out. The other part that we're requesting is that they be allowed to use this area as a staging yard for the project while they're in town. They expect to be here about a year to get the fiber installed down every road, past every home. The shed itself that they're putting on this site is about 12 by 16 feet, so it's fairly small. It does not need the whole acre, obviously. They think that maybe sometime in the future, they may add additional facility here if it's needed. At that point, obviously, we'd be back before you with a new site plan and a modification to the conditional use permit.
Okay, perfect. Any questions from the commission for the applicant? All righty. Thank you, sir. Pretty easy.
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring this back to the commission for further action. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Jensen.
I move we approve the conditional use permit request by Mount Flagler representing All West Communications to authorize the use of public use and contractor storage yard to occur at the subject property application number P23-227 based on the findings and subjects to the conditions listed in the staff report dated March 15th, 2023.
I have a motion to approve the conditional use permit by Commissioner Jensen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Goches. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-1. Moves us on to number 5 on our agenda is a recommendation on a subdivision preliminary plat request by RMO Properties LLC for the proposed Vista Meadows subdivision to include 47 single-family residential lots on 9.8 acres located at approximately 460 West, 600 North, and R17 residential zoning district. Mr. Agard.
Andrew, before you, Chairman, I need to ask you to just clarify something. I heard you say the vote was 7-1.
7-0, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Let the minutes reflect that the last vote was 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is a preliminary subdivision plan request affecting the 9.8 acre parcel highlighted in red on your aerial photograph. The property rests north of the existing rodeo grounds and also north of 600 North, in between 520 West and 300 West. The property is currently zoned R17 residential, as are properties to the north and to the east. And then to the south, we have some open space zoning, and to the west, we have some multifamily residential zoning. The preliminary subdivision plan proposes to subdivide the 9.79 acre parcel into 47 lots ranging in size from 7,100 square feet up to, I believe, 8,800 square feet. The layout is really straightforward, nothing exciting about it. It's just one straight road with some lots fronting each side of the road, and then with the lots fronting to 600 South. Pretty straightforward and boring, really. I don't have much else to tell you. Staff has reviewed the subdivision application, and we can confirm that the lots meet or exceed all the minimum lot size and lot width requirements and other standards. There is some road dedication on 520 West that will be done with this subdivision, as well as with a little bit of dedication on the corners. And then the new road will also be a publicly dedicated street. So staff's recommend approval with the conditions listed in the report. And I'll turn it back over to the Planning Commission for questions.
All right, we'll bring it back to the commission for questions for staff. Yes, Commissioner Hammer.
I have one question. And I guess just curious, for the landscaping that's required in the retention basin, it says that during the application review, the Parks Department will review the landscaping. Is that always how it's been? That the
Yes,
Parks Department does that?
We always try to send a copy of the landscape plan to the Parks Department, particularly to Darwin Cook, and request feedback from him. Sometimes he responds and gives us some feedback. If he doesn't respond, we deduce that he's okay with the plans that we provide, but we always provide a copy of the plans to him to review.
I just hadn't noticed that before. Thanks.
Perfect. Commissioner Goches?
Question? Thank you. Mr. Agard, I understand there's going to be curb and gutter and sidewalk along 520 West. Is there any requirement along 600 North for any improvement? Because that's a heavily trafficked road, and there'll be a lot of people that are walking along that.
The applicant will have to improve their side of the road, so they'll be installing curb, gutter, sidewalk on the north side of the street, plus whatever improvements to the asphalt. Any improvements on the south side would occur when that side develops.
Sure, okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff? All right, this one just is a recommendation, and I'll entertain a motion on a recommendation to the City Council.
Mr. Chair, I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Vista Meadows subdivision preliminary subdivision plan request based on the findings and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated 15 March 2023.
I have a motion for a positive recommendation from Commissioner Robinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes with a positive recommendation, 7-0, heading up to the City Council. All right, City Council reports.
Hello, Commissioners. We're having a great evening. A couple of things to report from our meeting last time. We did approve the rezone from community commercial to mixed use on the 60 South Main property. You guys saw at your last meeting. And we approved a payment of a fee in lieu of water for a Microtel Moda hotel that is going to be built on the north end of town, kind of behind Thirst, that area. Not exactly behind there, but there. And then we also, there was one other thing. We did adopt a new ordinance regarding our alcohol licensing. Some of you might be interested in that. Changed it quite a bit and kind of deferring more to state code instead of having a whole bunch of stuff in our city code that just reiterates what state code says. And loosened up the guidelines just a little bit so that we have a little more discretion over where those businesses may go. And that's all I have to report.
All right, we got any questions for Councilwoman Menzione? Thank you. Appreciate your help.
Thank you all.
All right, cruising along here moves us on to number 7 on our agenda is a review and approval of Planning Commission minutes for the meeting held on March 8th, 2023. Are there any corrections, additions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve those minutes for March 8th, 2023.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Hammer, and the chair will second. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This one passes 7-0. Number 8 on our agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Commissioner Hammer.
It was fast.